Greetings and salutations. Welcome to High Tab. That's how I think about bikes. Today, the ferocity of the winter has surpassed my own fortitude, and I have switched from my riding bikes game to my thinking about bikes game. Here's what's on my mind. This bike, the trusty Kunage Maru, has been my grocery getter, cafe bike, occasional touring rig, and gravel grinder for the last 5 years. And aside from repacking the hub bearings and replacing the chain once, she delivers day after day while asking nothing in return. This season, it's time to give back to the frame that tows trailer bikes and boats, rides over mountains, and goes grocery shopping twice a week. So what even is this bike? It's a 1980-something Maruishi Discovery touring mountain bike. It's got the friction-shift Shimano 3x5 drivetrain, plenty of places to bolt on racks, double-butted Tange, steel frame, canty brakes, 26-inch wheels, these glorious Sugino AT cranks, and the indelible markings of almost 40 years of adventure. Check out the original dork disc. How could this possibly be improved upon? Well, my friends Paul and Phil certainly have some ideas. But does it really make sense to dump several $1,000s of American precision machine gewgaws into a bike worth no more than a few hundred? At this point, why not buy a proper modern bike? There's loads of handsome steel frames on the market today crying to be built. Before we dig into those two questions though, let's tackle a third question. Why not just ride the bike as is? If it was so much fun to ride for years, then why bother to dump a bunch of time, money, and energy bolting on upgrades? The obvious answer is to make it better. But make it better how? And now we are getting to the interesting questions. A bike better for one thing may not be so good for another thing. No one is towing a bike trailer full of lumber on their crit bike, and you don't see a lot of cargo bikes at the BMX park. So let's see what I need this bike to be good at. I use a 4-pannier setup once or twice a week for grocery shopping, and then ride around town for random errands or just a nice ride. I also like to do a few overnighters each summer, and this year is no exception. I have been known to push the envelope of underbiking on some single track. So let's say 50% grocery getting, 25% cafe runs, and a little single track and touring in the summer when I'm feeling wild. With these use cases in mind, I went over the bike from stem to seat post and asked myself, is there a problem here I would like to solve? If so, I tagged the related item for enhancement. The dopamine hit that comes from buying shiny new parts is a heady, fleeting feeling, but creating something fit for purpose is a satisfaction that sticks for a long time. So after a shower and a haircut, here's what I decided I could improve. Lights. When riding in the city, good lights are paramount to survival. At night, car drivers are accustomed to only seeing things with lights. Riding dark makes an already precarious activity even riskier. I've been guilty of excessive optimism regarding the charge status of my battery more times than I would like to admit, and ended up on my way home from a night ride more or less invisible to cars. It's time to invest in a dynamo setup. Shifting. Since most of the riding I do is in the city, most of the mods I have in mind deal with that environment. My area is relatively flat, especially compared to BC where this bike spent most of its life, so the range is just fine, and I find friction shifters just fine a lot of the time, but in the winter they are a chore to use with heavy gloves and in traffic. It can be hard to hear if the rear derailleur is in the right spot. I also find that if I need to make a sudden stop while loaded and then accelerate, it's a struggle to quickly get moving to the point where I can downshift. An internal geared hub can shift at a stop. Since my frame already has horizontal dropouts, it's a good candidate for this kind of drivetrain swap. Bars. I love the look of my Nitto riser bars, but whenever I ride more than 3 hours on this bike, I start really wishing for more options for hand positions. Big wide drops are popular for a reason. I find them natural and comfy. There are not a ton of options for Alpine compatible shifters when it comes to drop bars, but I have these sweet Jevenel shifters on one of my other bikes, and I really like the simplicity and the feel of them, so the cockpit is going to be built around these shifters, and the widest bars I can find used that will fit my stem. Tires. These cheap, chunky slicks came on the bike, and I have been running them ever since. Aside from being fairly resistant to flatting, they are heavy, hard, and they slide all over the place. I would occasionally throw on a set of knobby Pana racers when riding in the dirt, but what I really need is some tires that can take a little pavement and gravel, because I am far from diligent in switching to the right tires before going on a ride. Brakes. The stock Shimano Canties have never let me down, even in the wet, but I've been meaning to switch to a set of Cool Stop salmon pads, just to be on the safe side. Now there's plenty of new bikes that could solve all of these problems, so let's go back to question 2. Why not get a new bike? A few reasons. 1, this bike has never been stolen. I have experienced a heartbreaking bike theft. I don't want to go through that again. The frame is kind of dinged up. It's old. It's 26-inch. And I just don't think it's as attractive as some other bikes. I like the idea of a bike that does not look like a Ferrari. It fits me pretty well. It's unique. The 26-inch wheel size provides a lot of room over the wheel for cargo, and it makes for a somewhat short bike that's easy to carry downstairs. Lastly, I like the look. It has this sort of retro, contrarian, utilitarian, barbarian vibe that I find easy to identify with. So now to answer the first and final question. Does it really make sense to dump several $1,000s of American precision machine gewgaws onto a bike worth no more than a few hundred? Probably not if they are randomly chosen based on shininess or hype or the desire to just buy something. But if I mindfully thought out them, from the end result should be a well put together bike that exudes some sort of mechanical animal magnetism calling to be ridden. A new frame-up build could probably serve the same end, but it would be significantly more expensive and not quite as personal. This video is intended to be part 1 of a 4-part series. I will be posting an update once per month and doing more of a deep dive on the components going onto the bike, with next month's episode being all about wheel building and dynamo hubs and internal geared hubs. I have given myself a deadline of April 8th to finish this build. I'm sure y'all know what is happening April 8th, 2024. That's right, it's the seasonal opening of the Estacade du Pont Champlain bike path over the St. Lawrence River. Oh, and also there's going to be like a solar eclipse or something with the path of totality passing right over Montreal. It's an auspicious event, and the only way to see if I actually achieve my goal of riding the Kunagi Maro over North America's best and most awesome waterway during a total eclipse is to follow along.